Welcome to the Worship 2.0 podcast, and we are blessed today to have the worship leader for that great Hosanna music project, the Smithton Outpouring. He also wrote 7 songs on that project. Here today is Eric Nuzum-Thomason. Eric, welcome to.
Thank you. Thank you. How are you doing today?
Good. Did that song bring back the stand up and give him the praise? That's from the project there. Did that bring back some memories for you?
Yes. And I know you've probably got a lot of questions, but before we get to them, that song holds a pretty special place in my heart, and I'll tell you why. My first night of ever leading worship by myself was the night the Smithton, well, we call it now the Smithton Outpouring. We didn't know it was going to be such a powerful move of revival at the time. But my first night of leading worship ever by myself was the night the revival technically started.
Really?
And that was the song that I started the night off with. Because we had done that song that morning along with a couple of others, and the pastor's wife was leading the worship. I was not a worship leader. Didn't want to be. And so Pastor Steve Gray, who was at Brownsville, had gotten back late and asked me if I could just run out and start some songs, knowing that I said, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what to do. And he said, well, do you think you could you just start with the songs and do the songs you did this morning with Kathy? Could you get by with those until I get out there? And I said, I think I can. So I went out, and that was the song I started, because that was the first song we did that morning.
Oh.
So that song was the lead in to this worship journey that I've been on to this very second that you and I are talking. Hasn't stopped. So I have not heard that song that you played in many, many, many years. However, it still holds a special place in my heart, because that was the first song I ever led with the team, actually by myself as like the worship leader.
Well, you did a great job. That was tremendous.
Thanks.
And I didn't know that Pastor Gray, is he from Brownsville?
No, he went to visit. He was the pastor at Smithton, and he had gone through kind of a rough time. There was and there's a big story about it, so it's no secret that he had kind of gone through a betrayal of some people at the church, really turned their backs on him and were not being very kind, to put it that way.
Yeah.
And he felt like he had hit a wall, just as a pastor, and he needed something new, and he kind of felt God was done with him. And Brownsville had just started. They were in week 3, 4, somewhere in there, not very far. And so his wife, Kathy, suggested, well, why don't you go away for a couple of weeks, go seek God, go down to that revival that's been going on and see what God will do. So he left for a couple of weeks, which meant that Kathy took over, kind of running the church and doing the worship and stuff, because they led the worship together. And I would just stand up there and, play along and stuff. I didn't lead anything because I didn't want to, and I didn't really know what to do anyway. And so when he came back, it was a Sunday evening. It was pouring rain, absolutely pouring rain, and he had to drive real slow. So he was very late getting back. Hence why I had to go ahead and get started, because he hadn't talked to Kathy for a couple of weeks. And so that's why he said, well, just get out there and get started, and I'll be out there in a couple of minutes. And so that was the transition of moving into more of a revival move. And we still had our church stuff, but that was the beginning of what we would now call the Smithton Outpouring. And it was, that was in 96. So and we didn't record the project till 99. So
Yeah.
it was quite a journey to get there.
Well, that's interesting, because see, our pastor I was at a fairly large church, and he took the whole staff down to Brownsville for several days.
Okay.
And so matter of fact, Lendl Cooley he's done a podcast on here too. But so we went back and actually then we invited the Brownsville team, Lendl and the team, up to our church. And they came up to our church, the Brownsville team. I think we had about 8,000 people that night or something. And then when they left and went back, we started revival services at our church, which Friday night revival services, which lasted for over 2.5 years. Very, very similar to Brownsville, And exciting times. So, we have a mutual connection there.
That's great. Yeah, Lendl's awesome.
Yeah, Lendl, he's great. I had him on. I think it was last month. We talked about that, and he's doing great. He's pastoring now, and still heart for revival and people being saved and delivered, and that's what it's all about. What are you doing these days, Eric?
Well, we moved back about 1.5 years ago to our hometown, which is called Sedalia, Missouri. It's about 7 miles from Smithton. I still lead worship at a local church here. I actually lead worship at one of their satellite campuses that they just started. And I also teach elementary school music.
Oh, okay.
So I do a little bit of both. And
are you still writing songs?
Oh yeah, still writing, still playing, still recording.
Good.
Yeah, you can Spotify and Apple and all that stuff. Just put my name in there, you'll find them.
Okay.
And and so I still write and play and record. I've never stopped leading worship. I probably won't. I don't see that on my radar. It's just, it's one of those things where, and I'm sure you have some listeners that are creative people, and we as creative people, we can get a little, I wouldn't say moody, but we can get a little down on ourselves because we're creative people and we wear our emotions on our sleeves.
Mm-hmm.
And, David was the same way in the Psalms. And if you read the Psalms, you'll see that David was a little bit depressed sometimes, but at the same time, he would turn it around and say, but, Lord, you're my shield, you're my strength, you're my everything. And I'm never going to stop singing, and I'm never going to stop praising you, and I'm never going to stop doing what I'm doing because you're worthy of it.
Yeah.
And so you kind of get to a spot, and I guess to an age where you settle it in your heart, and maybe this will help some of your listeners who maybe are struggling with, well, who am I in all this? What am I doing in all this? There's going to come a time where God will solidify it in you, and you have to make the decision. He doesn't make the decision for you. He will put the parameters in front of you, and he will give you the opportunities to do it, either leading worship or preaching or just serving as a volunteer on a worship team or in a church. But you make a decision and say, okay, Lord, this is who I am. This is what I do. And this is what I feel you want me to do.
Right.
And you've called me to do it.
Mm-hmm.
You've given me the skill. You give me the abilities. And that's what I had to do several years ago, that I'm a worship first, and then I play second.
Right.
But all that together is I'm a worship leader. I'm a worship pastor.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I'm going to do. Yep. No matter what it looks like, I'm going to do that.
That's what God called you to be, a worship.
Yes.
Yep.
So still doing it. I'm going to do it until my voice either just goes, and that's the end, or my fingers fall off, whatever,
And they can get your music then on Spotify, or you're on YouTube too, or Apple Podcasts.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So they
Apple.
Yeah.
Just put my name in there, Eric Nuzum-Thomason, and it'll pop up.
Yeah, then you got to know how to spell it. Nuzum, Nuzum.
Nuzum.
And Thomason.
It's Thomason.
Right. Okay. Very good. Well, I'm glad to hear that you're still writing. That's we need some anointed writers, especially these days.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And which brings me to my last question. I want to ask you, what is your perspective on where worship is at these days in the local church?
Oh man, how much time do we have, Dave?
Well, hey,
Um,
we don't have a time limit on this, so brother,
no, that's
go for
okay.
it.
Yeah, well, I feel that it's it's not. I don't think anything would that I would call anything is bad. I don't think it's bad. I think there are parts and sections of it that are just absolutely. I don't call it mind blowing. I call it spirit, soul, and body. Just blows me away.
Mm,
It's absolutely fantastic. I listen to some of these, and some of them are huge churches. And I listen to the songs and I go, that is so God honoring. And, but I also feel like that if, and I think we're starting to shift out of this performance mode.
right.
I feel we're starting to shift out of it a little bit
I'm
for
glad to
two
hear that.
reasons.
Glad to hear
Yeah,
that.
for two reasons. One, some of the younger kids that started that say 5, 7, 8 years ago that it was performance to them, they've either grown in this and changed, or they haven't and they quit.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you get older, you get more wisdom and you start to see that it's not about you, it's about him.
Right.
And that there's always somebody better. There's always a better singer, there's always a better player, there's always a better writer,
Mm-hmm.
and you can there no one is good enough. Everybody is replaceable.
Right.
And when you get to that mindset of I'm replaceable in this, God can find somebody else to do this. It changes your mindset of who you are as a worship leader and a worshiper. So I think we're starting to get out of the performance mode a little bit. It could still appear as though it's performance, but I think there is a sincerity that are in the hearts and minds of even pretty young kids, but even kids now that are in their 30s and 40s now, that um, legitimately want to see God move in their local church
Right.
and in the world through music and through worship. And if there's anything that I think is lacking, I don't think there's lack from the platform necessarily. I think there's lack in the congregation. And what I mean by that is I don't mean it's bad. I'm not saying anything's bad or misguided or heresy. But what I am saying is that the music is so good now that there's no teaching the congregation of why are we doing this?
Right.
We have the what, the music. We have that. But I don't think we do really well. And if there's any criticism, it's not even a criticism, it's just a caution I think that I would have. And Linda would probably say the same thing, is that we don't have much of a why do we do this? There's not a lot of teaching on why we worship. There's a lot of teaching on why we evangelize. There's a lot of teaching on why we do communion, baptism. There's a lot of communication with why do we need to reach people for Jesus? Why do we do this and why do we do that? However, there is probably zero point zero pastors that get up and bring up, why are we singing the songs we're singing? Why do we say the things that we say to God? Why are we to raise our hands? Why is it honorable to raise our hands? Why is it honorable to show him value and worth with these songs and make these songs weapons of worship, weapons of warfare in in our hands and in our mouths, and not just a song service and just singing the songs top to bottom, verse 1, chorus, verse 2, bridge, chorus, out. But that's great. But where is the why in that? Why are we doing that? Are we doing it just to make ourselves feel better, or are we doing it to honor God? Well, if you would ask a congregation person that, they'd probably say, well, we're honoring God with it. Yes, but how? What are we specifically doing as a congregation with these songs to honor God?
Yeah,
And so,
where is the presence of God? Where is
Mm-hmm.
the presence of God? And I know, and I was blessed to have a great pastor that he was a former music guy, but he just had a heart for God, a heart for worship. He taught people what worship was. And
Mm-hmm.
as I put my perspective wasn't, well, let's do the latest, newest thing, or, or it's not old versus new. It's like, okay, when worship is done, are we in the presence of God? If we're not in
Mm-hmm.
the presence of God, then I missed it. Now, that could be
Yeah.
majestic or that could be gentle, but the presence of God. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yes. Um, I think what we have right now is we have, and this is okay. So it's, again, it's not a criticism. It's just, I think we could do better
Right.
type of thing.
Right.
I think right now it could appear as though, and this is not all the way across the board. I just, but it could appear as though we have many congregants who are Sauls. And what I mean by King Saul is they just need to be soothed.
Mm.
They just need to be soothed. They don't necessarily know what it even means to worship. They don't know what that even means because it's not taught. But the soothing part of worship is taught, where if you listen to this song, you'll get soothed and you'll feel better. Well, that's good. That's a total nature of God. So we don't want to turn that off and say, well, we don't want that. We do want that. But we also want the inherent presence of God where we are giving back worth to God.
Right.
Yes, we feel better? Well, yeah, that's by default. If I give to God something that belongs to him, I'm going to start feeling better just by default.
Mm-hmm.
But when I make it all about me being soothed, song's over, I sit down and we move on to the sermon. Well, we missed something inherent there, and that is, like you said, we missed the presence of God. And I know people that they get the presence of God differently. Not everyone, and I've learned this through time and age, that not everyone responds the same way, and that's fine. So that's not what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about necessarily an outward response all the time, but there's got to be something new inside that's happening and not just being soothed, but there's a worth of God there. So I think where worship is going now is, I think people are learning that. It's just taking us a little longer to get there than maybe what I would personally like.
Well, it
But I
tends
think
to
we're
be
getting there.
yeah, it tends to be, well, they didn't sing my favorite song today. It's like,
Yeah.
well, hey, it's not about you. How about if we just love Jesus? Okay? We
Hmm.
love on Jesus. People I don't think they know how to love on. They're uncomfortable if there's any silence there, and we're just going to
Hmm.
sing I love you, Lord. That, something just gentle. Let's just love on Jesus for a few minutes here. Okay, it's not about
Yeah.
us.
Yeah.
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 But I will say this to answer the second part of your question of where do I think worship is. I could not be more thrilled of all the songs that are out there,
Mm-hmm.
because when I was coming up in this, especially in the revival, I had to write songs because there weren't enough there. You had Hosanna and you had Vineyard,
Right.
and that was it. That was
Yep.
it.
Right.
And once you went through those, you were done. And we did 6 services a week for 3.5 years,
Well, brother, I'm with you. We
and
did 5
they were
service.
not
Yeah.
short.
Yeah. We
And
did
they,
5. Yeah. We did 5
yeah, and
services for.
they're not an hour service. They
Yeah.
were not short.
Uh huh.
And you do that many services in that amount of time, you're going to run out of songs.
Yeah.
So I had to start writing songs. In my first year of the revival, I was driving a forklift for a living.
Oh.
So I wrote I can think of 2 of the songs that are on that Smithton project. I actually wrote them on the forklift.
Wow.
There's a song called You Have Called Me, and there's another song called Healing Waters. And I wrote those on the forklift because we had to have songs. So I'd write them that day and we'd do them that night. Good, bad, ugly. We'd do them.
Yeah. You wrote "Fire in the House," "Revival in the Land." God is now reviving His people.
Uh-huh.
You did. Well, Steve Gray wrote that "Return to the Lord."
He did.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
you wrote "Healing Waters" along
Mm-hmm.
with Chris Springer,
Yeah.
and you also
There's a
wrote
couple more on
more
there.
of You, Lord" with Chris Springer.
Yes. Yes.
You Have Called Me. You wrote that one. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was out of, we got to have songs, but today there's so many of them. You can grab different styles, you can grab different artists, you can grab all these different kinds of things, which I think is just, it's a testament to the creativeness of the Holy Spirit and
Uh-huh.
the creativeness of God, that he's taking all these people from different areas of different backgrounds in their life, of different ages, different denominations, different, even some different belief systems that maybe don't believe exactly the same way I do. I don't care about that. I used to, but I don't anymore. If they're following the same Jesus that I'm following, it's the same river, and we're going the same direction. I'm not gonna fight that.
Well, maybe it's
But
similar to
there's
what happened before Hosanna started. The big thing was Christ for the Nations. I would get all the Christ for the Nations tapes, and though
oh yeah.
so we're talking about going back there when there a lot of the students there at Christ for the Nations, they were writing these songs,
Mm-hmm.
and then yeah. So maybe that's kind of the beginning that we're at now. There's this new wave of people that are are writing new material here.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's just, it blesses my heart to that all denominations now, pretty much all denominations, are singing these songs. And
Mm-hmm.
that is a testament to the harvest of Christ,
Mm-hmm.
that it is working. Worship of God is working.
Mm-hmm.
It's working in the local church. Um, there are some that probably still fight it a little bit, but not very many. Unfortunately, there's a lot of older churches that it's sad, but they're dying off because they won't change with what God is wanting to do. And they're going to stick to it till their dying breath. And that's sad. I know of churches around here in this area that they don't want to change. They don't want new songs. They don't want current anything, and they're paying for it.
Well,
They're
I
having to
think a
close their
cute
doors.
one of the things with them, especially older people, it's like they can't sing to them. Okay, I mean,
Hmm.
as a songwriter, a good song is a good melody with a good lyric.
Yeah,
Well, you go in and a number of the songs they're great. The words are great, but there's no melody that goes with it. They're just kind of sing songy. I
yeah.
mean,
There are some hard ones for sure.
yeah, well, yeah. In my day, we called that special music. I mean,
Sure.
we would have
Okay.
an
Yeah.
ensemble, and they would do this great song, and then would say, we'd turn to the congregation. Now we want you to sing that. They'd say,
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
think so. So that's why I say there's having a good song helps even for the older people. When
It
we were in
does.
revival, the young kids all the way up to the adults were singing the same songs because they could sing to them because
Hmm.
it had a good melody and a good lyric.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Well, I'll hand that to you. There are some where you're like, that's pretty tough. That'd be pretty tough for your average person to be able to latch onto.
but
And now they
just
do
like
it.
that new one, "Holy Forever." I just discovered that the other day. "Holy Forever." I mean, that is a
Hmm.
great song.
That will be sung. That I was talking to my wife about certain songs, and I said there are songs that are the time, it was for that time. God, we wrote those songs for that time, that God was doing what he was doing in that time period. And some of those are those Smithton songs. But there are other songs that I used this term. I said, these songs will be sung through the ages.
Yep.
That Holy Forever is one of them.
Yep.
That will be sung through the ages. And here's why I feel that way. It's not just the melody, and it's not just the timbre of the song, but it is the message of the song,
right,
along with the melody and the timbre of the song. That there's, a song will come along, not very often. Shout to the Lord is another. That song will be sung through the ages. And
how great is our God?
How great is our God?
Yep.
There's another one you probably know called I Speak Jesus. That will probably be sung through the ages. There's certain songs that come along that God opens a small window. We write thousands and thousands and thousands of other songs that are great, but then all of a sudden God opens the window for this one little a little dot, and it pops in there, and it will be sung. It'll be sung forever.
Well,
no pun intended.
Yeah, I have a saying.
That's the one.
Great songs have no expiration date. Great songs have no expiration date. No.
That's a very good way of putting it. And that's why it's so hard to be a songwriter.
Yeah.
Because you want to write good songs. And I've got hundreds, even on my phone right here, I've got hundreds of melodies that no one will ever hear, because in all honesty, they're terrible, And so for every 50 songs that I would maybe try to write that are terrible, you might get one good one that's decent. And then out of that, you might get one that you'll either record or do publicly,
Yeah.
And I think that's so cool of God, because just because it's not good doesn't mean it's not from God. It's not good enough to the standards of what we need. But that doesn't mean that God didn't breathe on it.
Right.
He breathed on your creativity as a writer. So I want to encourage all your writers out there that are listening. As a fellow writer, don't let the frustration of maybe having a hard time writing a song, or you play it and you go, that doesn't sound very good. That's called being a songwriter.
Yep.
They don't sound good. Most of them don't. There's many of them that don't sound good, and that can be very discouraging. You're like, well, maybe I'm not supposed to be a songwriter. No, you're supposed to fight it out, and you keep trying and keep trying and keep trying and keep trying. And the creative process that God is birthing in songwriters continues. I was writing with some writers that you would probably know their names, and we were doing that, and man, we were having a hard time, and we just stopped, and I said, man, songwriting is hard. And these are with some people that have written songs that you would know.
Yeah.
And they all looked at it and said, I know this is so. Even the big guys, and again, this is a great encouragement for your listeners, even the most seasoned person that you would think is a songwriter, they struggle. And they go, this is hard. And you say, yes, it is. And you know why it's hard? Because it's God honoring. Yep. And anytime an earthly vessel, a human being, is trying to do something for the creator of the universe that created all things, and you're trying to sing a song and write a song about him, that's hard.
Yep. Well, listen,
Nothing
Eric.
of the kingdom is easy.
Yeah, right. Well, listen, I appreciate you taking the time to be on the podcast today. And
my pleasure.
What better way to leave the podcast than listening to another great worship song from the Smithton Outpouring project,
Great.
Which you co-wrote with Daryl Evans, Prepare the Way.
Yes.
Yeah, here it comes.
Make
We hope that you will spread the word about worship2.0.com, where our mission is to help people everywhere, at any time, experience the presence of God. Have a great day.